And what is going on, everybody? Episode 76 of the We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast. We know what episode it is for this week. We got it down. We're ready to go. Before we get into anything, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on our social medias. We'll be putting a good amount of content out as the weeks go by with shorts and everything, Instagram Reels and the like. And so make sure you're following us on social media so you can stay up to date on all that and get our takes on the latest in Pittsburgh sports with the Buccos, with the Steelers, and national sports as well. But gentlemen, as always, we have a lot to get into. The Pirates, there's always something to talk about with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They dropped 2 of 3 to the Rockies in Coors Field for a 3-3 road trip. And we'll talk about where they stand. We're also going to talk about the blockbuster Giannis trade that went down last night. This whole Brendan Sorsby situation. That's a big mess. And plenty more. So let's just get started here with the Pirates. Actually, let's start with the Joey Bart trade, actually, before I forget. Because the Pirates traded Joey Bart to the Atlanta Braves for a familiar name, Hunter Stratton, a pitcher who the Atlanta Braves designated for assignment and shipped him to Pittsburgh in this trade. Someone who pitched for the Pirates, obviously, a couple years ago and has really had minimal success in his baseball professional career, MLB career. But what are our thoughts on this trade? Joey Bart instantly now is the backup catcher for the Braves to Drake Baldwin. He was activated off the IL after the trade, and he'll be the backup. Rowdy Tellez, we did see that Rowdy Tellez is also on the Atlanta Braves.
He was in the Braves organization.
I think they just got him. Or something.
He was in AAA for them, I think, most of the year, and then they called him up or something.
Yeah. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this Joey Bart trade? The decision the Pirates made to not send Henry Davis down, to keep him on the active roster, to be the backup to Andy Rodriguez, and all the dynamics regarding Joey Bart, and now that he will be in Atlanta.
Peyton, you go first. I know you have some things to say.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize it was episode 76. In fact, I think on one of our TikToks I made, I accidentally put that the last one was episode 76, but you know what? We're doing this earlier in the week. We normally don't have back-to-back episodes this quick, but hey, it's all okay. But since it is episode 76, this should be a patriotic episode because it's 1776, 2026, the 250th anniversary of our great country is upon us here in a couple of weeks. So I think that the theme should be patriotism, and what the Pirates did here was very unpatriotic.
Wow.
When we were doing the podcast, I wish we had done it a day later, because then we would have reacted to this news right away after it happened, because we were saying on Thursday something's going to be done with this catching situation. We said that the worst thing they could have done was Bart being DFA'd. So that wasn't the worst thing that could have happened, but I would say that what happened was about the second worst thing that could have happened. I don't understand. If you let Joey Bart play for a couple of weeks, let him play into July, and then you trade him for good value, then that would have made sense. But they clearly made a panic move to keep Henry Davis on the roster, and that's what I said they shouldn't do. They made a panic move. They didn't get the best value they could have gotten out of Joey Bart. Now, who knows? Joey Bart could have came back and been horrible, and then they could have got nothing for him. But I don't think he could have done worse than what Henry Davis is doing at the plate. I think we know that by now, based on what Joey Bart has done over the last few years. It's been up and down, but it hasn't been Henry Davis bad. And this we went off on Henry Davis last week. My new nickname for him is Homeboy Henry, because they keep treating him like he's the homeboy, like he's got to be on the roster. Nothing changes with him. it's just like, oh, he has to catch Skeens. Well, Skeens, I mean, I'm not criticizing Skeens, but I mean, we all know he hasn't been as good this year. So I don't understand why it makes a difference whether Henry Davis or Andy Rodriguez. It's not like he's going to be so much better when Henry Davis catches than when Andy Rodriguez catches. And again, the appeasement to certain players is an issue. And I just feel like it was just an appeasement type of move and not what was best for the team. And Hunter Stratton, and you know what? When Hunter Stratton was with us before, I liked Hunter Stratton. I thought he showed some good things. But I mean, we DFA'd him like twice. And then, he pitched okay in the big leagues last year in like 12 games. But he hasn't done anything this year in AAA to show you that he's a better pitcher than he was before. I mean, that's not improving your bullpen. I think it absolutely would have been worth keeping Joey Bart over what they did.
Yeah, I agree, and I think like we were all talking, like we all would have been okay with Bart being traded for a reliever, but not to this degree, right? I mean, even if you want to get a reliever that's recently DFA'd and you want to trade Joey Bart, I believe Scott Barlow recently got DFA'd. At least he had some pedigree at the MLB level, pitched a lot of innings. I'm not saying that would have been a great trade, but it would have brought back more value if you really didn't think you were going to get much more for Joey Bart. Just in this situation, I mean, I just don't think, like, obviously, I wouldn't have made this move for sure. I think we all could agree that as long as Andy Rodriguez stayed the starting catcher, like, we would have been fine either way. But at the end of the day, I'd rather them have sent down Henry Davis. As much as I love him, as much as I root for him, I'm also a realistic baseball fan. And I'd rather see you get the most value out of Joey Bart, just have him strictly face lefties so that his numbers look a little bit better, maybe, and then you trade him for a reliever or something. It's just I just don't know if you pull the trigger right away. And I know the Pirates have some catchers in the system. Obviously, they're going to turn to Rafael Flores, barring an injury with Rodriguez or Davis. Easton Carmichael is probably going to rise through the system pretty fast. Still, I mean, at this point right now, where you're sort of you need to win right now. I mean, you can't let go of someone who is probably like other than what Andrew Rodriguez has been doing, but Joey Bart over the past 3 seasons combined has probably been the best offensive catcher for the Pirates, and I just don't know, and it sucks because like I know that you have more value as a good hitting catcher, but at the same time, I know I mentioned this plenty of times, but I think the Pirates messed up not platooning him at first base last year with Horwitz, and I still stand by that. I think that would have been
They could
it
have
would have
done it
been better
this
off.
year.
They could have done it this year too. It's just I don't know. I think the whole Joey Bart I think he's a better hitter than what he's displayed because I just don't think he was put in the best situations. And with the Braves, he's not going to start, obviously, because Drake Baldwin's a very good catcher. But at the same time, like, I don't know, you could have got more for him. I mean, I think that's obvious. And with Hunter Stratton, I don't know what we're going to get with him. But I guess it can't get any worse than the bullpen we have, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
you absolutely. Go ahead,
I
Peyton.
just want to say one thing before we get to Nate. I mean, we have to. It's not like Henry Stratton has bounced around since he's been with us. No, we literally traded him to the Braves, which I had kind of forgotten about. So we traded back the guy we traded. It's just like it just seems
And,
so
and the guy we got from Stratton, I think he
forced.
leads the curve in homers right now, even though he's
Well,
I
batting like
mean,
230.
and the Braves obviously, you did mention this, Jake. That Braves obviously DFA'd him. I mean, they didn't want anything to do with him. It's just like I don't know. I mean, maybe
And
I
also,
don't
I forgot to
understand the
mention this
rush.
too. Like a lot of people made I guess the excuse that, oh, Hunter Stratton would have been a priority, and if the Pirates wanted them, they weren't going to be able to wait. With how they've been better than recently, they weren't going to be able to wait until he clears waivers. But still, like I think they could have probably traded some random minor leaguer and still gotten him. I don't know.
If
Apparently,
he's
maybe
such
the
a
Yankees want him. I don't
priority,
know.
if he's such a priority, why did you DFA him like 2 times and then trade him in
Right?
the first place?
Yeah. It's just I
Like
don't
he's
know.
not going to
Just a
help me.
weird situation.
You know what? I hope he helps this bullpen because I mean that's the only thing we can hope for now, right? Is that we just didn't just give away a player for no reason, except for the fact that we want homeboy Henry to be on this roster. I mean,
Especially
I don't.
whenever especially whenever people were saying, "Oh, Joey Bart could be included in the package for Isaac Paredes," who I mean, we're fine without him, but still, I mean, like for a quality player like that, you put that in the trade rumors, and then you just give him up for a guy that was DFA, not only DFA, but you also DFA, and you also non-tendered, signed him back on a minor league deal. So
This just feels like a good organization absolutely taking advantage of a bad organization. That's what this feels like, and it's not a big trade by any means, but it is trades like this. You know, when the Atlanta's going to be deep into the postseason, and you need a pinch hitter off the bench against a lefty, right? And you bring in Joey Bart. Those are the little things that can win you big games sometimes.
Joey Bart gonna be what was that backup catcher for the Braves whenever he walked it off against the Pirates? Imagine that's what's gonna happen.
That's
Forget
I
Oh,
was
his
just,
name.
yeah. I was just thinking that, like, somehow, if somehow the Pirates made the playoffs and they played Atlanta, like, that would happen. Joey Bart would have a
Yeah.
walk-off of some
It
kind.
would be off of what random, like Mason
it'd
Montgomery
be off
just
Hunter
throwing it.
Stratton because we didn't acquire any
Imagine.
bullpen
Well, against our,
relievers
I
at
was
the
trying to think like
deadline.
off a lefty, but like still, that would actually be funnier.
So, a couple of things. I agree with everything I said, obviously. I hope that Hunter Stratton doesn't pitch for the Pirates. I think that would be a bad thing. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, we hope he contributes to the bullpen. I hope he doesn't. I hope he's not. Then the Pirates sent him to AAA because he's a AAA player at this point, and he wasn't
But
even
you're gonna
good. Like the numbers in AAA weren't good.
no.
For the Atlanta this year, his WHIP was like 1.62 or something, walking a
Gee,
bunch
I
of
didn't know it was
guys.
that bad. Wow.
Yeah, it was like 1.6 or 1.62, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a bad trade. I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, what a like you mentioned, Payne. We were talking and Jake, but we were talking about like trade packages or trades, sending Bart to a team at the deadline for a reliever that would help the Pirates this season. Who thinks Hunter Stratton's going to help the Pirates this season? I think if they bring him up, he's going to hurt more than he's going to help based on his track record, which is why this trade is so poor. It felt like the Pirates were like felt like they were forced into it. They had to make a move because we're at a crossroads here with the catching now with Endy playing so well offensively and defensively. You can't send him down, right? So now it felt like a move that like they felt like their hand was forced at this exact point in time, where like Henry Davis couldn't be optioned, to AAA or whatever, just for the time being, even for a month and a half, until the deadline. And it just wasn't a good trade. You could have got much more value for Joey Bart. It did feel like a good organization, like you mentioned, Peyton and the Braves, just kind of getting a steal as a backup catcher. Joey Bart's a very strong backup catcher, and he will and come home to Georgia. I'm sure he's going to do well for the Braves in that role. And it's just another kind of example of the mixed bag of Ben Cherington trades, right? Where there's been some really good. Now this doesn't even come close to some of the bigger trades in terms of like a player being dealt. But you get Brandon Lau, which was I mean, at the time we gave up Mike Burrows and we got three really solid players from Tampa. It was just a crazy situation. But he's had some really bad trades, and I think this one's going to be it's a lot lower stakes because Bart wasn't going to do too much crazy offensively for the Pirates this season anyway. But it's just another trade where you could have got more value, you could have gotten a better bullpen piece, and you're not. And right, if Hunter Stratton could help the bullpen, like he would be in the major leagues right now because his bullpen needs help right now. And he's not, obviously, because he wouldn't help the major leagues unless they see
I
something.
think at some point they're gonna have to give him a chance because they don't want to look like
I hope
complete
not.
idiots.
Yeah. It
That
bit
is
like
the
it's
one
weird because
thing.
like I don't
Yeah.
know who they give up right now or send down. I have no idea. Like or Benoit, I
Brandon,
guess they
you
could
know
send
what?
down.
I'll
Yeah,
say
I forgot
this:
about him.
I'd give Hunter Stratton a chance over Brandon Benoit right now. I'm sorry.
Honestly, I
I think
agree. You guys know I'm a Benoit fan. I want him on the opening
he
day
needs more
roster,
He's
but
not
polish.
I
ready.
agree. Yeah, exactly. And I'd rather see, I guess, with Stratton.
I mean, but I personally, I think both of those guys are they're kind of the same caliber right now.
But Hunter Stratton has had some success here and there. He's had some good stretches. We saw it with the Pirates. Last year with the Braves in 12 games, he had like a 2-something ERA. So there's been some good stretches. And we'll take anything we can get, right? You know what I mean? Even if it's for 2 weeks he pitches well. Like, we'd take it. I don't know. But yeah, it felt like it was like something that so we did the podcast that night, and then sometimes whatever you talk about or think about the night before you go to bed, right, it pops up in your dreams, and then something really weird happens in the dream. That's what that felt like Joey Bart for Hunter Stratton. I haven't even thought about this guy. Why are we getting a guy who was just on the team? Like, it literally felt like a dream scenario, like a bad dream. That's what it kind of felt like. I mean, I'm being over dramatic a little bit, but it feels like something. It wasn't real. Like, it didn't feel like a real thing. It felt like something that was. It felt like Centel. It felt like something. If there was an MLB Centel, that's what the trade would be.
That needs to happen. That needs to be an account actually. That should be set up.
Let's start one.
All right, let's do it. Breaking news. But no, it's just a last point on this. It's just kind of just funny looking at. I mean, it's not funny, but just looking at it. And the Pirates traded a quality. I mean, Joey Bart would start for some teams catching wise, right? A really quality catcher for someone who the Braves designated for assignment and said, we don't want you on our team anymore, right? That's just kind of the stain on this trade that kind of leaves the worst mark, if you will. And I just don't see Hunter Stratton, being a major contributor to this bull. Obviously, if he does, I'll eat my words completely and bow down to Ben Cherington. But I don't see that happening. And so,
if Hunter Stratton turned out, I feel like that would just be luck more than anything. Like, this was clearly a panic.
If Hunter Stratton does well,
Panicking.
he'll have like a FIP of like 5, but somehow have an ERA of like 2.5. Like, it would be one of those things. That's the only way I see him doing well.
That would be. All right, let's just move to the Pirates as a whole. Their recent series in Colorado, they dropped 2 of 3 of the Rockies, 2 excruciating losses. I mean, Colorado has become a house of horrors for this team in recent years. I mean, every road trip really is a house of horrors for the Pirates, it feels like. But I remember 2 years ago they blew a couple games. Last year, obviously, they had a 9-0 lead in the first inning, and they lost that game. And those 2 games didn't have nearly as much scoring, but that actually made it more excruciating. Because as Marcell Ozuna with an RBI single, Pirates take.
They actually might have to start playing him more.
I'd like to talk about him actually.
Yeah, actually,
he's actually hitting. Ozuna hasn't played much, but he's hitting like close to 300 in the month of June somehow.
That's okay. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that right now because it has been a head scratcher to me that Marcell Ozuna has been hitting a little bit better. And they're like, we got to get him going. You don't get him going by putting him on the bench. What better? You got Triolo trotting out there every game. You can put Marcell Ozuna in the lineup 2 out of 3 times in a series instead of 1 out of every 6 games.
Especially right now with no Griffin and Cruz. I mean, Ben Cherington, who I think ultimately runs the operation more than Kelly a lot of times. I mean, we could get into the specifics of that another time. That's just theories. But he says, we believe in Marcell. We think there's a hot streak in there. Then why aren't you playing him? Exactly. Now, who's on the mound for Seattle tonight?
George Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
Is he right? He's right-handed,
yeah.
right? Or is he lefty?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's not a strikeout guy.
It seems like they've been only playing him against lefties. But, like, you're paying him $12 million. He's hit better the last couple of weeks. Historically, throughout his career, he's been a very good, successful major league hitter. You're down 2 of your most impactful bats. I mean, you got to play him. You got to play him. I mean, now Mangum has been great, right, lately, so they've been putting him in there. But yeah, I mean,
Mangum should
Triol,
be in the lineup, yeah.
he should be right now. But like, yeah, I think the fact that Triola's gotten more playing time than him is a little nuts, quite frankly. So, and I know that Triola's defense is okay, but I sent something to you guys today. There's some stat like he's top 10 and like I forget what the stat was, but it wasn't good. Triolo. But yeah, you gotta give him a chance. If you're gonna say that, you gotta give him a chance, especially if he's hitting well in the month of June. So, I mean, it's really that simple.
And you can't make the excuse like, oh, we want to give Jake Mangum more playing time. That's why. Well, O'Neal Cruz is hurt, so that's not an excuse. To me, like maybe they want to play Tyler Callahan more, but at the same time, I know he had that decent stretch for a series or two, but we all know he could be a good quality backup. But you don't need to give him every day at bats.
Who have they
I'd
been
rather them see what they have.
DHing? O'Hearn, mostly? Like, when Ozuna doesn't play, isn't DHing?
No,
I always
They haven't
forget.
had any
I think
other
they've been
outfielders.
rotating it.
Because Mangum and Reynolds have been out there, and I think it's just been Horwitz has been at first every game, I'm pretty sure.
I think they DH Reynolds once, and they had Callahan out and left,
Callahan,
right, or
yeah.
something. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
and Callahan's he's been good. Obviously, he's kind of tapered off recently. So he came up in two really big situations and struck out both times for the Pirates. But it's not just him. But I do want to get to Jake Mangum as well because I want to praise his offense while simultaneously having some criticisms about his base running. Because I haven't been. There's been a lot of people a lot harsher on his base running. And obviously had the diving play in the first inning of that second game against Colorado that goes for an inside the park home run. But I'm not too against that because it was going to be at least a triple anyway, and there was a sac fly the next at bat. Basically, it was a fly out to center. So
And
I
he's
like
hustling,
his effort.
you know what I mean?
I like the effort
Yeah.
and everything, and he was close to getting that baseball. But he's been hitting great. He's been hitting the doubles down the line. Almost beat out that play in the first game that they called off because it was interference, and that was a fitting end to that game that the Pirates did not deserve to win. And but Mangum, he just had a big base running mistake here that he was actually safe somehow. He was caught. Look, he was leaning off of first, and he somehow got back. But he has had some base running blunders. And I do think it's a concern. It's an issue, but he plays so hard and he is so fast that like there is a chance on any of these that he can make it to whatever base he's trying to get to and whatnot. And so, like I don't want to get criticize him too much. A lot of people have, but I think he's been so much more of a net positive for this team. Especially, I mean, he's hitting like 400 the last couple weeks. Like he's just been hitting the ball to all fields, and I love his hustle and everything. And but what are your guys' thoughts on Mangum? What are your guys' thoughts on those first two games with no offense, and even that third game against Colorado where they almost blew that game? It was really close. I was like, Joe Block said it was when it was 8-1. He was like the Pirates, to the effect of the Pirates got this game. And everyone's
he
like,
did that
no,
against
no.
the Twins too.
Yeah.
And that was the game. We were up 8-1, similar situation. We ended up winning 10-9.
Right.
Barely.
Yeah. And they won 8-6 today. They give 2
can't
days
be
ago,
doing
they gave
that.
5 runs consecutively. But what are you guys' thoughts on Mangum, but more so just the first 2 games at Colorado series and where this team is at?
Yeah, I mean, that's unacceptable. I don't care. You can't lose 2 out of 3 to Colorado. You can't be playing at 500 at this point in the season, considering you have I think they have the most hits in baseball or something up.
Yep.
You have the NL Cy Young Award winner. You have Braxton Ashcraft doing what he's doing, and to be 500 is a disappointment.
And with the schedule coming up.
And now you can
True.
look at it. You can look at it. Well, the Pirates were out of it in April last year, but there's only so much room for error to win 85 plus games in a season, unless you're the LA Dodgers or the New York Yankees. It's I mean you can't have these you can't blow as many games as the Pirates have. Um, I thought on Friday night that game was on Don Kelly. Bubba Chandler's having a good game. I know he had a rough sixth inning, but he got out of it. He only had 74 pitches. The instinct to go to the bullpen earlier than you need to is a consistent thing that's very troubling to me. And then you bring in Johan Ramirez, it's like, but he's cooking, right? And then because of the left on left, you take him out after 6 pitches, and Mason Montgomery, he had some bad luck, but still you get down 3-1 to Tyler Fulford, whoever the hell that, I don't even know what his name was. Okay?
Braxton, I think Braxton.
Yeah, and then you throw him a cookie right down the middle. Well, it doesn't matter who it is. You're going to get, especially at Coors Field, you're going to get cooked. And that's exactly what happened. We lose that game. Obviously, in both games, you had runners in scoring position, bases loaded, nobody out. You don't score. That's, beyond unacceptable. But we know runners in scoring position has still been a struggle with this team. And especially with no Griffin and no Cruz, that's going to be an issue. So, again, it's a lot of the same that we've talked about. I feel like, again, Kelly just overmanaged on Friday. And it brings me to this point. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but I've been saying it to myself. Like last year when the Pirates did win games, and in the years prior, right? The Pirates would win a majority of their games, 3-2, 2-1, 4-3, right? 2-0, right? Like they would find ways to win these low-scoring games. And of course, they would lose a lot of low-scoring games. But I can't tell you the last time the Pirates won a game 3-2, 2-1. I can't. Maybe in last month, I think last month against the Rockies, we won when we had them at home. Skeens beat them. We won 2-0. And I think we did something similar against Arizona when Skeens pitched. You have to be able to. You can't win every game 8-5, 6-5, 9-6. The best teams win low-scoring games and outpitch other teams. And again, we've been incapable of doing that. And on Saturday with Skeens, his command continues to look shaky, but he's just so good that he still gives you a quality start. And but again, I mean, we've lost 7 straight Skeens starts, and I know he hasn't been elite lately, but that's still, there's no way we should be 6-10. We're looking at it the same way we looked at it last year. How are we 4+ games under 500 when Skeens pitches? It's just the biggest waste of talent ever. It's just you can't do that. You can't lose 7 straight Skeens starts. And you can criticize Skeens, criticize the Davis situation. I get that, but I don't it's hard for me to see them as a playoff team until these things start to change. So
Before I go to my take on the series, I do want to mention how you mentioned about Mangum just real quick. The Pirates needed someone like him. They've needed someone like him, and it's funny because he's kind of who we were hoping Ji-Hwan Bae would end up being. I mean, they're very similar, but Mangum is actually producing. They're just that lefty sort of slap hitter, but very fast hustles and all that great stuff. I mean, they need someone like that. They need someone who's going to hustle every play. Just one of those guys. I mean, that changes everything, right? I mean, last year's team, it seemed like no one really cared, if I'm being honest. I mean, they're out of it early, and but he provides a spark, and that's what this team needed. So I'm very happy that he's actually really now producing, especially in this month. They really needed that, especially with Cruz being out. You need to find some sort of offense. I mean, obviously they're completely different players, but still, you need some offense to sort of provide for that absence that Cruz is going to have, possibly for a little bit longer too. We'll see. But in terms of the series, I mean, to me, bases loaded, 0 outs with the Pirates, or runners in scoring position, 0 outs, whatever, those types of situation. It's not only bad, but I feel like every time, especially whenever there's 0 outs, the first hitter strikes out. I feel like that happens 80% of the time. I could be wrong. That's probably a stat I'm just making up. But if I had to guess, It's probably at least more than half. I mean, I feel like every single time, especially later in the game, it's just runners in scoring position, 0 outs, first guy strikes out, and that just completely shifts the momentum. And all of a sudden, depending on who's on base, a double play ends the inning if it's first and second, or you're just in a lot tougher spot. Like say there's a runner on second, 1 out now because you struck out. A sacrifice fly is no longer productive because what? The runner moves from second to third and there's 2 outs. You'd rather have that with 1 out because then a sacrifice fly can bring them in. It's just all these situations that could be a positive. You can't do whenever you strike out in the first at bat, and then we have to rely on the runner, the guy with 2 outs, and then you look at the Mangum situation. It's like, oh, you got screwed. It's like, well, you can't strike out with bases loaded, 0 outs. I mean, that situation no longer matters. It's like, okay, if Mangum's up and he does the same thing, you already put up 2 runs on the board probably, and it's like, oh, whatever, let's just win this game and stuff. But now that actually ends up mattering. It's just you have to capitalize early on in these situations. You cannot rely on 2 outs. I mean, there's really no point. It's just so frustrating because of what this offense has been able to do all year. I mean, it's the best offense, and I know the offense was towards the bottom of the league at this time, but it's the best offense the Pirates have had since 2019. Even though, obviously 2019's completely different juice ball era, even though the Pirates were good offensively, like in the greater scheme of things, obviously 2019, everyone was hitting. But either way, that's besides the point. I mean, this is an offense that can produce, and the fact that they're not in these situations, and in fact, they're just striking out, it frustrates me. As someone who hates strikeouts for hitters, it's just, I hate it. So
That's the era we live in. We're not like
yeah,
strikeouts just aren't as big of a deal anymore.
I
But
know.
I mean to overall recap those that series loss, especially again they were close, low scoring games. Both starting pitchers in each game did really well, and I know those guys had ERAs past 7 or whatever. Or Sugano was like in the Sugano's okay, but
Yeah.
right? Obviously, that happens though. I mean, sometimes a guy just has a really good night, etc. But when you're in a close, tight, low-scoring game like that, bad teams are supposed to lose those games. Good teams are supposed to win those type of games. And yet the Pirates lost both those games to bad teams, to a really bad team, which tells me they're very mediocre. That's my takeaway. You got to find a way to win one of those games and win that series. You had to find a way to win 4 out of 6, and the opportunities were there, and they weren't able to do it.
Yeah, and to your point, Jake, I'm pretty sure the Pirates have the most strikeouts, at least in the National. I'm pretty sure in the National League they have the most strikeouts. And now
Oh, in
again,
general. Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
well, I don't know about in general, but at least in the National League, they have the most. And again, like they had the most last year, but they were the worst offense in baseball already, right? At least this year they're hitting and everything, so that it kind of gets masked a little bit, but it doesn't get masked in one-run ball games in clutch situations, right? And that's where it matters the most. And Tyler Callahan, to be fair, like he has a lot of swing and miss in his game right now, and he was up in
Yeah,
both those
I felt
spots.
bad for him. He came up. Yeah, I felt bad for him, honestly.
He's a rookie, and and he's up in that spot, in that moment.
Yeah.
It's tough. I'm not gonna crash out on.
It's not
Tyler
just
Callahan.
him. It's
Right.
to just put the blame on him is
O'Hearn has
unfair
had
because
a
it's
lot
been
of
everybody.
strikeouts in that series.
Yeah, I mean, O'Hearn's was bad because he swung at a horrible pitch and
He was
2
0 for
strikes.
12 at Coors Field. O'Hearn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually going back to Ozuna, like another thing is even if maybe the Pirates are at a point where they feel like, and I would kind of understand this, where they feel like, at the trade deadline it might be best to move off of him, because once you have Griffin and Cruz, it's gonna be hard to play him a lot. I mean, it just is, because when you have Mangum the way he's going, right? Nicky G's, he struggled a little bit, but he's in there, right? He's been hitting at a high average. It's gonna be tough to find playing time for him, and at times it's felt like he's just preventing someone else who's going really well from playing, right?
Possibly Mangum
And
whenever all these guys are healthy.
right. So let's just say the Pirates, and I don't think they can, and I don't think they will. Let's just say the Pirates try to move off Marcell Ozuna, right? Let's just say that happens. Here's what I would do. I would put Ryan O'Hearn as your full-time first baseman, and I would acquire an outfielder for some sort of not like like a Randall Grichuk per se. Let's just say Randall Grichuk. Pirates go out and he'll be your fourth outfielder, and you have Mangum play more, or you have Mangum and Grichuk kind of platoon. I'm just throwing the name out there, and I would move O'Hearn to first.
It would have to be a righty that they would add, yeah.
And I would move O'Hearn to first, and I would make Horwitz your full-time DH. Because this is just, I don't know what the numbers say, but from watching, my eyes tell me he is not a good defensive first baseman at all. And Ryan O'Hearn, obviously, he's been okay in the outfield, but he'll give you much better defensive value at first. He's a pretty good defensive first baseman.
Yeah, if he can play outfield to, at least a professional level, you'd imagine he's a very good first baseman, which is his main position.
Right. And I don't know his numbers as a first baseman career-wise, but I think he's been considered a pretty good defensive first baseman. That's what I would do to improve your defense. Because everyone kind of looks at first base and doesn't think much about it, but it matters. Having a good first baseman defensively matters. And I know there are a lot of deficiencies, right? Gonzalez at third. But again, you're going to have Griffin back at short, potentially by this weekend.
He's making rehab. And
Lau has been excellent at second. And then Gonzalez you can deal with at third if you improve your defense at first base. And I think, and again, in Horwitz, you can also put him at second on occasion too, right? I think that, again, moving O'Hearn to first base, and even if you don't acquire an outfielder like a Grichuk, again, you just let Valdez or Garcia get some playing time, but again, and kind of be a bench guy. But neither of them have really shown much at the big league level.
And not only that, I mean, I agree with you 100%. But what also they could do if they, can't acquire an outfielder, say, or they don't feel there's one necessary that they want to acquire. There's always an option that you can bring in Luis Arias and make someone like Brandon Lau as your DH, or if if Arias can play a decent third base and have Gonzalez, whatever. I mean, that would be
Has Arias ever played third base?
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, but he's been good. He's been good defensively at second base. I know that. But either way, I mean, Arias, he could be your leadoff hitter if you don't want to move on from Horwitz as your leadoff hitter because he's been doing so well at that spot. You can. Have Arias as your ninth hitter, and he'd be very good doing so. I mean, there's a lot of options that they could do if they move on from Ozuna, and there's some guys that they can acquire. So,
but Horwitz, his footwork at first is just very stiff. When he covers the base, and then you see Freddie Freeman, even at his old age now, he does these splits. He really extends, and Horwitz just kind of he doesn't really, because when you're a first baseman. You're supposed to be taught your feet should be even together when you're receiving the ball, and then wherever the ball is, you go, whether it's that way, whatever, right? And you extend, and I just don't feel like he doesn't extend I don't know, he just seems stiff over there.
And it's funny because I saw some Pirate fan account or something saying that they should have Horwitz as the third baseman, have O'Hearn at first, and then, put Mangum in the outfield to really maximize the offense. I'm like, what are we talking about? Horwitz at third, that just blows my mind. There's no way he'd be able to play third base at all.
No range.
Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not.
I'm like, I get you want to maximize the offense. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's like Colin Moran, but twice as bad at third.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to your point, Payne, about Marcell Ozuna, potential trade candidate. One, if they want to move him, then you should be playing him because he has no value right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? he's not a movable piece for any value right now. Especially, it's a $12 million contract, right? Teams aren't just going to want to acquire that when the guy's in 198, right?
But if
So
we can
they
get him
need-
into the 230 range, 240
Yeah.
range, and he's
But you
hitting
gotta-
for pop,
Yeah,
you know.
you got to play him a little more, and there's been some encouraging signs. But now if he does get, but then the thing is, if
Right.
he does get into the 230 range, and he starts heating up, would you want to keep him anyway? Because Cherington signed him. We talked about not wanting to look bad, the general manager. He signed him for $12 million when there were other options out there, right? And he's had to, it's not looked good so far. So it's kind of a dilemma right now where if you want to trade him, like if he's hitting 198 on August 3rd, you're not going to get any value back for him. But then if he is hitting 225, 230, and he's hitting 375 in the last month, you want that bat in your lineup in August and in September if he indeed is heating up and he looks like kind of what he did at least last season at the very least. So it is an interesting dilemma. I don't see how they can move him, honestly, because of what I just said.
At a certain point, if whether it's because he's struggling or whether it's because the Pirates just don't play him like we've seen, eventually they may have to just DFA him. But again, will they be willing to even do that?
You'd be eating up some money. Even in August, you'd probably still be eating up $2-3 million remaining left on the season, and that's
Right.
that'll be something you have to consider.
But it could be worth it. You know what I mean? If you're trying to win now, which they should be, that should be your priority. And again, but then they do things like they do with this Joey Bart thing, and it makes me wonder, what are we prioritizing here?
Yeah. Okay,
Because
so
we're not at the point where we should be worrying about Henry Davis's development at the plate. Because there has been no development. I'm sorry, I hate to go back to this, but there has been no development. You're trying to win right now. It's just... And I just don't understand this whole thing with he has to catch Skeens. You can't... Skeens is going to be gone in a couple of years anyway. Why do we have to appease to his every need? If this is a demand, why are we giving in to all of his demands? Who said we had to do that?
we're the Pittsburgh Pirates.
But we're not re-signing him. It's not like we're trying to keep him long term. If they think they
Right.
somehow will, there's no way they think that. There's no way nobody thinks that, right?
No.
So
Unless they're holding
they're
out
not
hope
gonna
that
do
a salary cap will make things different. I don't know.
Yeah, unless the salary.
But I don't-
yeah,
I
but there
don't
isn't
think-
going to be a
yeah.
salary cap.
Right,
I
yeah,
don't
because
know.
Skeens is also a major part of the MLBPA, and he does not want a salary cap. So I imagine that means he does not feel he's going to be a Pirate anytime in the long-term future.
Now, I do want to, before we get off the Pirates, I do want to mention I think this month and a half leading up to the deadline will be very telling. And it's a very tough stretch, like I mentioned earlier. You play Seattle and the Reds this week. Those are, not pushover teams at all. Seattle, I think, has a lot more in the tank than what they've shown. You play the Nationals and the Phillies on the road. Then you play Atlanta, and then you play Milwaukee. And then out for the All-Star break, you play at Cleveland and at the Yankees. I think it might be at home against the Yankees, but it's a tough stretch. And then Arizona's mixed in there. There's no gimme series, and there isn't any with this Pirates team anyway. They just lost 2 or 3 to Colorado, right? But it is a tough stretch, and I think if they are around 500, not under, but if they're at 500, a couple of games over even, I think that's an encouraging sign because it does get easier a little bit in August and September, but there is a lot of Milwaukee on the back end. There's St. Louis, Chicago. Obviously, the division games are always tough. So I think it will be very telling to see where this team is at, how they compete with some of the top teams. Obviously, it was a terrible series against Atlanta. They did take 2 or 3 from Milwaukee early in the season.
But that was
They've been
before
solid
Milwaukee
against their
got
division.
going.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. They've been doing solid against their division for the most part, other than I think they they
They got
lost the
swept
series
by
to
the
one.
Other than
Cardinals.
Yeah,
St.
but then the
Louis,
Pirates swept the Cardinals, so it kind of evened out.
No, it's 2 out of
two or
3.
three, yeah,
Or it was
still,
two out
yeah.
of three. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good it was still a good series, but yeah, that Milwaukee they won that series in Milwaukee, and then I remember they lost like 4 in a row or something after that. Like I remember there was kind of a bad
Hmm.
stretch after that, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see where this team is at, and they got to win more skiing starts obviously, and they're going to need more from Mitch Keller. He's had a solid start so far against Seattle. They're going to need more from him, and obviously this bullpen. I mean, we'll see. Dennis Santana, I'm not going to give him too much flack for that outing. He gave up the 3-run homer. That was the only really bad pitch of his outing. He got behind 3-1. What are we talking about? He got behind 3-1, and he left a cookie right down the middle
Getting behind in
to
counts has just
Rumfield.
been it's
Yeah.
been killer. And I have to imagine we're top 6 in the league in walks or I mean, we have to be up there in walks allowed.
Yeah,
Which is, I mean, that's always the killer. And when it comes to Santana, I wouldn't look too deep into. We were talking about how he's been better, and I wouldn't look too deep into that Coors thing because that has been a house of horrors for him, right? He obviously
yeah.
last year with that whole collapse in that game, that 16-15 loss. He blew that game, so that might have been a little PTSD for our guy Santana.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't look too much into that. I did hear that like the spin on his slider has
Way
been much
up.
better.
Yeah.
So again, I think, and I'd like to see more Isaac Matson. Where is Isaac Matson? They bring him up and they don't pitch him at all, barely. So
Well, hey,
I don't know.
we gotta give Johan Ramirez some credit. Like we mentioned, he's been a
Yeah.
lot better recently. And this bullpen overall, it's had its ups and downs, but there's been some encouraging development. Obviously, Evan Sisk has been very reliable, and he won 2 innings. After Jones, we got to mention Jared Jones actually, because very fortunate
Oh,
situation
Yeah.
there.
Wait, is it
There
only
was
going to be
just a
day to
little.
day or?
I think he's just day to day. I'm not sure if he's
Good.
going to make his next start or not. I don't know if they've announced yet, but it was not a good sight. And when you watch it, like it hit the elbow, but it was just I guess an inch from shattering his elbow completely, which would have been. I mean, he was very angry coming
I
off
would
the
have been
field.
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you go
After
through all
all the
that work,
rehab, yeah.
frustration.
and for something that, I mean, for that to happen, that's like a one in almost a million. For it to
Yeah, it
come
didn't
at
hit his
you and hit
back.
your elbow,
It didn't hit his
right?
leg. It hits right on the elbow.
That he just
Yeah.
worked so hard to get back from. And when he yelled like that, I thought, oh my god, like he knows something's wrong.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, he's throwing today. And I kind of thought when it first happened, well, Sharman Majinski's going to get his wish to be in the rotation again. But actually, there's been a positive development. Even though we lost on Saturday, he's apparently no longer going to be the piggyback for Jared Jones. He came into an actual high leverage bulk situation and gave the Pirates 2 scoreless innings, and that's exactly what we want. So
Mhm.
I was really harsh about that. I thought that was like I said that was the most incompetent thing going on with this team, and I guess I don't know
They
why they
listened.
did the piggyback thing for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it was, but it looks like that's over and they've come to their senses. I don't know. I mean, we don't know the inner workings, but I'm just happy that he's doing what he's supposed to do. Hopefully they start using him more, right?
But it's funny. It's funny because even when we would agree they used him in the right spot, it would have been better, honestly, if he pitched the next day with Jared Jones only going 3 innings, like in happenstance. Obviously, hindsight's like nobody could foresee that. It's just kind of an ironic thing where the Pirates needed to eat a lot of innings after that really bad kind of potential injury. But anything else on the Buccos here before we get to
I
some
want to
other
ask you
stuff?
guys something. So Konnor Griffin comes back on Saturday. Let's just say that. Who's going down?
Billy Cook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I would like it to be Triolo,
Why do you got
of
that
course,
smirk on your face there?
but it's
I
not.
actually totally, dude, I forget about Billy Cook all the time because I was thinking,
Because he doesn't
I
play.
totally forgot about Billy Cook. But
Yeah.
I was thinking it was either going to be Callahan or Valdez. I'd like the Pirates to keep Callahan around.
Oh,
Oh,
Valdez is still
and
up.
probably
That's
going to
right.
be Valdez.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it'll be Valdez probably.
Because I
Because
mean,
they love putting Cook in the 8th inning for defense, even though he's
Well,
the
that was
most
another
average defender.
that was another over managing thing on that game when Callahan pinched hit for Valdez. Because in that 8th inning when we scored 3 runs, Valdez was the one who got it started with
He got the double.
double,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, and then you take him out because the left on left on right stuff, analytics. This team is there's too much analytics going on. Just go with the guy who just
Yeah.
had a double his last at bat and had like 2 or 3 really good at bats that game actually. And yeah, so I mean honestly, I agree with you guys, Billy Cook, but at the same time, Valdez hasn't really shown enough where it might be just best that he goes down to AAA and keeps working. So
Billy Cook.
I don't know. As long as it's not our boy Callahan.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you better not. We're giving him a pass on those strikeouts, but I don't want to see any more of that. But
Callahan,
he's been good. He had a double.
he's going to be a good backup. Like you don't start him
Yeah.
every day, but he can play the infield and the outfield. Like I'm cool with him.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, now Billy Cook. It was funny. It kind of unfortunate for him in the game on Sunday. The Pirates. It was 8-4 at this point in the 9th, and Billy Cook was up, and he crushed 2 pitches not in a row, but he crushed them, and they were like, they were foul, but it was kind of close.
It was a Henry Davis moment.
Yeah, and it was just like if he would have got one of them, because I haven't seen him I cannot remember a hit from him this season. Like I know his average
Has
like
he gotten a
140.
hit?
He's gotten like
That's a good
at
question.
least 3 probably, but I cannot remember a hit from him. And that would have been, and I guess he's from around there. in
Yeah, he is.
Colorado.
That's
They
why he got
literally
to start.
started him on
Yeah.
Friday. They did a whole piece on him, his family being there, and then he struck out 2 times, and then Reynolds ended up pinch hitting for him.
How about
And we gotta
Reynolds?
obviously
I'll tell you what.
highlight our guy here in
Yeah.
June. The first like week and a half of June, it was like, maybe the June thing's overhyped, but boy, oh boy.
He got a hit today.
Right now he's on pace for arguably his best season of his career. So,
Other than
they-
2021, yeah.
2021's going to be hard to replicate, but
Yeah. But yeah, he's been tremendous, and that reminds me, he better get in this All-Star as a reserve somehow. Like a week ago, like his numbers weren't quite there, but now he's at 880. OPS, his RBI total's right up there with the most in baseball, and he's been plus defensively somehow.
Yeah.
He's robbing homers and he's making
well,
the
at least
plays.
I told you last week it's because Cruz ain't in the center.
The mindset. But,
It's all
he-
about the mindset.
And I
guys.
tell you what, Terang has been struggling recently, and Lau
He
is
has
sixth
been.
it now in this update in second base somehow. Lau's got to make it somehow at second, but obviously they're a 500 ball club, so you can't expect everybody to be all stars who's deserving.
I
And
mean,
they're a
right
smaller
now,
market team.
your all-stars for the Pirates would be Lau, Reynolds,
and
Ashcraft, Skeens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashcraft
I don't even know if
deserves to
Ashcraft.
be
They
in
might
there.
not even give it to him. I don't know how many.
I mean, he's been
I think
arguably
Schemes
better
will
than
make it
Skeens.
over him.
But
Oh
he's- I know, but yeah, because they're obviously going to put him in because of the star power. You can't have the All-Star game without Skeens. I mean, I get
Right.
that, but
And he's been
I
he's
hope-
been an all-star pitcher this year. I mean,
No
his
doubt.
ERA is 286. I mean,
absolutely.
But Ashcraft has too. Like, if we're being fair, like he's
yeah.
been really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, but anyway, I'm not gonna go on an all-star game voting tangent again. But let's shift to a incredible topic, which is Brendan Sorsby and this saga here. So I'm just gonna go through a timeline here. Pirate Payton loves this subject. He's falling asleep. Just at the
Boring,
notion of it.
snoring.
Well, at our age,
not a bo-
I'm not
it's-
saying we're old, but we like falling asleep, is a lot nicer than 10 years ago when we wanted to stay up as long as we could. So,
Yes. Well,
Maybe it's a good
so
thing.
the Sorsby situation here, it's not a boring subject. It has a lot of implications because so Sorsby transfers to Texas Tech. Texas Tech gives him a ton of money. He was one of the prized quarterback transfers in the portal this year, and it's found out that he bet like not at least like 90 times or something, like a lot of times. It wasn't just a one-off, and it was on his like while he was at Indiana, he was betting on his team, right? These are things. I mean, we saw in a Pirates instance, Tucapito Marcano, he was betting and he was banned from the league, right? You're every league and in the NCAA all this time, if you bet, you're banned, and that was going to be the case. The NCAA is like you're done, but in Texas, this Texas Tech, this judge who went to Texas Tech in Texas grants him eligibility. Nobody,
I know this judge very well. He was very good friend of mine.
He's quite a patriot, for obvious reasons. And he makes this call, and everybody's outraged, and rightfully so, right? The NCAA has become such a joke. But this was like the one thing where they have precedent, like you can't gamble, and they've been firm on that. But now to see that, it really like all credibility and all like power the NCAA had was basically gone, because if a random judge in Western Texas can make a call and overturn what the NCAA is saying when everybody's with the NCAA and agrees, it sets a really bad precedent. And even though Sorsby's like, I'm done here, it was going to be a long legal battle. I'm done here. I'm going to the supplemental draft. The NFL, I don't know how that works, like with like the NFL, like just saying like we don't want to do one. Like that was I don't know how that works with that. Like, sorry, Brendan Sorsby, like we're just not even.
I've said this off the air multiple times, and call me ignorant. I don't care. I've never heard of a supplemental draft until this whole situation. I don't understand what it is. I don't quite get it. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of anyone being drafted from it. I'm sorry. I'm very ignorant to this. This whole situation.
No, I mean,
now they don't have one because they don't want Sorsby. They don't want to make a decision on Sorsby. And I guess I understand that. They don't want to deal with it. Roger Goodell, one less thing off his plate.
It doesn't feel like he should. It doesn't feel like he should even get like precedent right now anyway. It feels like next year should have been the time for him anyway, because he was going to play this year for Texas Tech. Right, so
does he potentially try to go back to Texas Tech? Is that a possibility?
Nah, I don't think so.
Because he's
probably
said,
gonna
I'm
try,
done. Like he's gonna be in like a lot of legal.
Is there another school who would be interested? You know what I mean? Like
Pat
I don't know.
Cade
But
Beck.
I would not want that.
If I'm correct,
the Steelers
the NCAA has no power over what they can do with him now.
Well,
right?
Well, no. Well, so the Big 12 does. It's like a weird thing. So like the Big 12 was gonna do something. Like if that's why Sorsby ultimately said I'm gonna go to the NFL, because the Big 12 was gonna fine Texas Tech a lot of money. They were gonna potentially suspend Sorsby if a different judge overruled the previous judge. Right. So it's just a big legal battle. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And but it is like the big thing isn't Jake Baum. I'll let you talk about this in a second. I know like we talked about this earlier, but he's not like the greatest of quarterbacks. Like I don't understand.
That's why I don't care about this at all.
I don't understand like NFL interest. He was at Cincinnati and he was a good quarterback, but if you blow a lead to Pitt, a 21-point lead to Pitt in any scenario, you're not a quarterback to be taken seriously. And that was one of the great games.
I was raging.
Remember.
I was at work and I was raging, and then I saw the end score. I'm like, what just happened?
That was like that was the Des Reed has arrived. I mean, the first game he was great, but that second game. But anyway, Sorsby, like he's not. I don't think he's that great of a talent, honestly. He has some mobility. He played for Cincinnati, so there's like a ceiling there, I guess. But I think he's a fifth round, fourth round kind of player, quite honestly. I don't see the first or second round. And the supplemental draft is weird. Like, everybody puts a bid in. It would have been interesting to see, like, what value he would have had based on what round. Because you lose a pick. If you take him, you lose whatever pick that would have been. So would somebody just
How many rounds are there in this thing? I
7,
don't
I
understand.
think.
No, I think it's just every team submits what pick they would give up for him.
Oh.
And the team that submitted the highest
Oh,
pick
like in the regular
would've gone
draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, yeah.
The
It's, it was
Steelers'
actually-
first round pick.
Steelers,
6 first rounders.
You
for
would have
Brendan
seen a
Sorsby.
rage from me that you have never seen.
Oh, man.
See, you guys probably wish it would have happened now, but
No, of course not, Jake. No, we don't want any stress on you.
No,
But I mean, I
no.
think this whole thing about the Steelers being in, that was just a local media ramp up, just because
Yeah.
there's nothing to talk about with the Steelers right now, and obviously the Steelers get the most attention, so they just had to, where are they gonna put him? If this were to happen, where are the Steelers gonna put him? You already
Well-
got 4 quarterbacks. What
They
are you
would've
gonna
cut
But
do?
what made me really mad was everyone was like, "Oh, he's a first-round talent." Everyone says that about every single quarterback every single
Yeah.
year. Garrett Nussmeier, first-round talent, gets drafted in the 7th round.
Drew
Kate
Aller's a
Klubnik,
first-round talent.
yeah, exactly, 3rd rounder. Kate Klubnik, projected to be a top 15 overall quarterback at the beginning of the year, gets drafted in the 4th round. Lenore Sellers, he might be a top 5 overall pick.
Oh,
Has
yeah.
to go another year because he wasn't very good. I mean, it's just every single year we see these first-round talents that don't get drafted in the 1st round, obviously, maybe 1 or 2. And all the first-round talent quarterbacks going into this draft at the start of the season, the 2 that actually went in the 1st round weren't supposed to go in the 1st round. It's just constantly, like, people get overhyped at the beginning of the season, and then they're just not what they're supposed to be. Like, if the Steelers were to put in a 3rd round pick, even, I would have been mad. Maybe 5th or later, because why not? But I still wouldn't though. It's just, you don't want to go through all that with the gambling. Who knows if he might be suspended a whole year in the NFL going. Who knows? And you're already putting this trust in Drew Aller, and obviously, we're all not thrilled with the Drew Aller situation. But if you want him to develop into any sort of professional quarterback, you don't, say, "Hey, we're done with you. We're drafting Brendan Sorsby in the supplemental draft." That's not going to help anything. Maybe there's some competition, but I'd already like to say that Drew Aller's competing with Will Howard right now. It's just none of that would make sense to me. I think Sorsby's overhyped. I think after a full season, he might be a 5th round quarterback, maybe. I don't know. It's just, I don't think Texas Tech, they're not this quarterback guru since Kip Kingsbury was gone.
No, they just
He was
bring
going to
in
be an
transfers.
upgrade over the kid they had. I mean, that was their biggest
Oh,
deficiency
yeah. That was a
last
low
year.
Yeah.
bar.
Yeah, but it's not like, Texas
Yeah,
Tech,
more.
they're not worried about their quarter. They put all this money in the defense. Obviously, they put all this money in Sorsby, but all they were just going to ask is him to be good.
Who's next up at Texas Tech now?
Will
Do
Hammond.
you know that, Nate?
Will Hammond. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
He was the
He was
backup.
the backup last year.
Yeah. And
He was
then
arguably
got
better
hurt.
than Morton.
Yeah,
right?
but he was just a freshman, so they didn't want to But when Morton got hurt, obviously, as Brandon Lau continues to hit against George Kirby, but Baron Morton, that was the issue. Texas Tech, they gave a ton of money to Sorsby because that was the thing holding them back last year. Was the core they pay for defensive linemen and linebackers, and they had a great defense last season, but they didn't have a good enough quarterback. And you bring Sorsby in, and I think a lot of programs are upset with Texas Tech because they were fine with Sorsby. Like, we support the ruling of the judge. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
a
of
lot
course,
of teams,
yeah.
a lot of teams wanted them
Like,
to say,
everybody
hey,
would have done that. I
Right.
mean, let's be honest. Every
Yeah.
team would have done that.
I want to say, like, for Georgia, I want to take shots at Georgia because they're like, oh, we're not going to schedule Texas Tech anymore. First of all, you never schedule Texas Tech.
Yeah, when did they
Because-
schedule them?
Yeah.
But it was like in any sport. And second of all, you have no moral standing at all as a program. In the SEC in general, in the Big Ten, these conferences
there's-
are trying to ruin the sport. And
This
in
idea
Georgia,
that
Georgia, they have no moral standing at all. Every week, a new player for Georgia gets arrested for DUI, going 150 billion miles an hour, right? So I don't want to hear the moral outrage, or how could you? Georgia and all these SEC teams were spending on players and doing dirty stuff before NIL was even a thing, right? It's what a stance by Georgia to belittle Texas Tech. It's just and Nebraska was like, we're not gonna, like, who cares? Like, who
Yeah, no one
cares?
cares about Nebraska.
Like, every program would have done that, and so that's where it's like Texas Tech. How much do you fault them? It's more about the whole system and a judge being able to
Yeah.
overrule. And the NCAA, they just have no power, and we'll see. There's a bill in Congress. I think Trump's gonna sign it. I don't even know. He doesn't know what's in the bill, but he's gonna sign it. But it's about
He
like
likes the pen. He likes his pen. He loves doing the
yeah,
pen.
but
Yeah. So
about protecting. It's called like protecting college sports. It is a good bill, and the only people that are against it are of course, the SEC and the Big Ten, right? Because it limits the amount of money and the amount of control they can make over the other conferences. But that's for another day. Let's
Texas
move on.
Tech,
You guys have any other thoughts on
hold on.
that?
I have a couple things I want to say.
Okay.
Number one, Texas Tech. Yeah, I agree with you, Nate. This idea that Texas Tech they're a disgrace. Like they're
Yeah.
doing. They would have. This is what any other school or whatever.
Yeah.
Acted, and they're acting like people are acting like Texas Tech is. It's the same as if with Penn State and the Jerry Sandusky situation.
Yeah.
So I feel like some people are trying to make it that big of an outrage, and it's just not when everybody
The
other
whole
schools,
sport's an issue. It's not like
the
Yeah.
NCAA and the universities in the NCAA and at this high level, there's nobody that's perfect. Let's just be honest and perfectly moral. It's just
Right.
it's impossible. So that's number one. And when it comes to Sorsby, I think I'm not as because number one, he's in college and he's young. And, I believe that everybody, deserves a second chance. I mean, to certain degrees, I believe that. And in this situation, I mean, I don't think the kid should be barred from playing football ever again or anything like that, because it's not like he was a professional. Now, he's getting paid like a professional, and that brings in that part of the debate, but it's not like he was a professional. He was a young kid. And secondly, I don't know if maybe he's just a bad person, or maybe he's not a bad person who did something really dumb and got into a whole. I mean, gambling is a real disease. I don't know this, what type of person he is in this exact situation, but what they did say, you did say that he only bet on his own team, right? In favor of his own team.
I'm not sure but I know he
Now,
did bet on his team.
If
which
he
is,
bet
that's
against
like
his
the worst.
team, if he bet against his team and tried to, do something to
Right, no, he didn't. Yeah, none of that.
If he did that, then I would say then it's a different conversation. But do I think he should be banned, and do I believe he deserves a punishment? Absolutely. But do I think that he did a dumb thing, and he's a kid, and maybe he deserves another chance and doesn't, and you know what I'm trying to say. Do I think he should be punished to the fullest extent of the law here when it comes to sports and gambling? No. But of course, I think there needs to be a proper punishment. And I think if you're Brendan, the way he's been trying to work around everything, and instead of just kind of accepting his fate and his punishment, because now they're like, apparently I saw something. His lawyer is like, we're gonna pursue action against the NFL for not doing a supplemental draft. Dude, how about look in the mirror and take the punishment and move on?
NFL has good lawyers.
Right. I don't understand. I think that's what he needs to do is accept that what he did was wrong and take some punishment and and hope for the best. And just accept what he did was wrong, grow up, mature, and move on.
Anything else, Jake Bell?
No, I said my piece. I just wanted to mention the first round talent thing. But obviously what you guys said is absolutely true about, everything, whether like, teams feeling they're morally better than Texas Tech, even though they're not, stuff like that.
Yeah, everybody
100%
has
agree.
dirt on
So
them. Every
yeah,
program
of
has done
course.
something. All these behind the scenes, actions. I
Yeah.
just have a couple more things to add briefly. It was funny the judge, like, he was suspended for the first two games of the season. Actually, Sorsby, like, if he would have played. And it was funny because that was against Oregon State and like Abilene Christian or something. Two game. And
Wow, what a
this the third
punishment.
game. The third game is at Houston, and Houston's supposed to be at the top of the Big 12 this season. So it was very convenient. Not only is he allowed to play, we're going to suspend him, but in two games that Texas Tech's going to be favored in by at least 40, in one, and then probably 20 in the other, right? And then the second thing is, it is interesting how the Big 12 will look now, because going into the season, like, it doesn't look good for the Big 12 in terms of like being a power, conference, like a drop off even from last season, because I mean some of these teams, and now Texas Tech, we'll see with Will Hammond how he does, and they have a backup they brought in, I can't remember from where, but we'll see because they were supposed to be the only like threat in terms of CFP from the Big 12. And Utah's always really good and everything, and BYU. And Arizona is going to be good, but it'll be interesting to see where the Big 12 is as a conference this season. A lot of pressure on the Big 12, on the ACC, like every season, to try and get close. They're not going to match the Big 10 and the SEC, but close enough to be respectable. So when negotiations happen, they have a fair say, and they have a reasonable say, like in terms of money making. So it's always a battle with these conferences. I know Brett Yermark was not happy with everything that's going on. The Big 12 commissioner, who I think has done a really good job. He's a tough guy. He's a deal maker. And anyway, let's move on, guys. We'll make this brief about the big trade in the NBA last night. Julius Randle has been traded to the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh,
That was the
whoa.
only trade that happened last night.
Don't
No, I'm
forget
just
Nick
kidding.
Claxton. Nick Claxton's going to be a
Yes.
Timberwolf, right? Wow.
No, he's going to the Bulls. It was a three-team
Oh, it was a
trade.
three-team. Oh, I was going to say
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert and Nick Claxton. That would have been a funny.
Nick Claxton, I love Nick Claxton. We share taste in music. Actually, I won't get into that, but anyway, he goes to Chicago now. The Bulls actually they've been the laughing stock for a while. I'll just be brief on that, but they have an interesting team next season. I don't think they're going to be bad, but they have some interesting players. They could be a fun watch. But the big trade, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, being dealt to the Miami Heat. Pat Riley making his big move. He hasn't made one his big move really since Jimmy Butler in 2019. And this is obviously, I mean, Giannis is better than Jimmy Butler, and I love Jimmy Butler. Giannis is just a great player, and it's a very interesting trade. There's a big fallout from it, obviously, with the Celtics, and the Celtics not trading. Their offer was nothing. It was peanuts compared to the Heat, because it was only Jaylen Brown, who's a great player, but only Jaylen Brown and a couple first round picks. The Heat trade Tyler Hero, who's an all-star player. Also, Jaime Jaquez, who's a solid kind of role player. The Illinois, I'm not going to pronounce his name, the Illinois kid, Jakachonis, who was a solid rookie last year, has some potential. And Kyle Ware, who was a starting center. Bam played power forward. He would be the center a little bit, but he has some upside as well. And they got a bunch of picks, first round picks from Milwaukee. But Giannis and Bobby Portis. Nobody wants to mention Bobby Portis, who we love.
Yeah.
We love Bobby, and he could be a solid like wing, defender of, he can match up, against some of the big men. He's not a terrible player, obviously, but obviously Giannis is the big key in this. So what are you guys' thoughts on this trade? Again, I don't know where this puts Miami. I mean, the Eastern Conference is obviously not as good as the West, but their depth took a massive hit with this trade, and they're bringing on a ton of money, and so it'll be harder in free agency to land somebody to pair, and Norman Powell's a free agent, and it's going to be hard to re-sign him as well. So, what are you guys' thoughts on this trade and for everybody?
I mean, I don't like. I don't have as much knowledge in the NBA as you guys do. I think, at least my first impression from Giannis's perspective, was this to me like, is going to Miami, wanting to go to Miami, is that a I want to win now move for you, or is that a I want to make a lot of money and, you know, right? Florida's like a tax-free state, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? So, want to make a lot of money, enjoy the beach. There's some good clubs down there, and have a good
Y'all say
time.
the
Or am
Kemba
I,
going to a
or am I
club? That
going
would
to
be
Miami
funny.
It's
to
not James.
actually
This
win?
is James Harden here.
But at the same time, to counter that, I mean, Miami is a good organization. Pat Riley, one of the great coaches, great basketball men of all time. It's a good organization to be in. But at the same time, you look at Miami's team, like what do they really have? Especially with no Tyler Harrow now. Davion Mitchell, okay. And then you got Bam, but Bam, like, I'm just talking about from a guard perspective, like who do they have?
Right.
Nate, maybe you can elaborate more on that. I think it's good for the NBA because obviously Miami, I feel like in the 21st century has been one of the cornerstone franchises. I think it would have been even better for the league had he gone to Boston because that would have been incredibly polarizing, right? Because Boston's in there with the Lakers and the Knicks is like the biggest organizations and the big and some of the most they're very hated. Everyone hates the Celtics unless you're a Boston fan, right? So and obviously they're the Yankees of the NBA. They've won the most championships. Or is it the Lakers that have won the most championships now?
The Celtics, I think,
Celtics.
regained it because I think the Lakers
Right.
tied them, and then the Celtics got the one.
Yeah.
So, that would have been more especially with Tatum. And, I mean, that would have been really, really interesting. But at the same time, like, would Boston have potentially become, like, a super team? I don't know if they would have become a super team, but they would have been the clear favorite in the East.
Well, their roster is not
Giannis.
as good. They have no center at all. But
Giannis is that big. I mean, he could play. He could be your center. He can be your power forward. Like he can do it all. I would think anyway. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. But I think they need to. Miami, if you're going in with Giannis, then you need to make some other moves to help him out.
Yeah, and with the whole trade, like to me, like this made the most sense for the Bucks because like I know people are like, oh, well, you could have gotten Jaylen Brown, but like the Bucks aren't going to trade Giannis to try to still compete. You trade him to rebuild, and whenever you're rebuilding, you have to get as many assets as you can from your superstar. And I think they made the right decision. They got a lot of guys that could be depth pieces. They got a lot of draft picks, and who knows? And you need to use this to build this for the next superstar, right? I mean, if you get Jaylen Brown, you only get a couple first round picks also in return. You're really relying that Jaylen Brown can be a very good number one because the chances of you getting that number one and to make Jaylen Brown the number two still, that's just so slim to none whenever you're not getting much other than Brown in the return for Antetokounmpo. So I think they made the right decision. For the Heat, I know they are losing all their depth. Sorry. And I understand that. But at the same time with the Heat, were they going to be much better than, an above average team in the East without making this move? No. And I think you're willing to take the risk with Giannis, who's amongst the best in the NBA, even with the lack of depth now. And to me, this is just a move that I like because you're trying to make a stance and you're trying to put yourselves in a position to compete in the East with a true superstar, which the Heat did not have. And again, I know you're losing all that depth, and it's not going to be easy, to be a championship contender without the depth that you're missing. But at the same time, I think it's worth it. And I think it's something that you're willing to at least experiment. What's the worst that can happen? You suck. Oh, well. It's better than, just being in the middle of the pack, above average in the East, and you know where you stand at that point. And I like this from the Heat, and I hope that it works out for them. And I hope it works out for everyone involved, including the Bucks, who are now having to rebuild. And they won a championship. So you win a championship and then you rebuild. I'm not going to complain if I'm a fan of the Bucks. So.
Who's Miami's coach?
Spoelstra.
Eric Spoelstra.
Eric Spoelstra.
Oh, yeah,
Legend,
okay.
legend,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought that they might have,
he's-
let him go, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, he's been around.
Yeah, and he's one of the few coaches where he's been around, but you still want the Heat to keep him. It's not like a Mike Tomlin situation. I
Right.
mean, he's still proven he can win in the playoffs still, like
Yeah.
in the
But
2020s. So.
Considering the fact that you have him, Pat Riley's not getting any younger, right? Like both those guys,
Yeah.
they don't want to be in the murky middle and just wait around for some superstar to appear. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
when you have a coach and a GM of that caliber, you don't want to waste time.
Yeah, we love like teams just making aggressive moves, right? Sometimes it doesn't work out. A lot of times it does. And sometimes it works out to a championship. Now, I'm not saying the Heat will do that. I'm just saying I love like the shrewd moves, and Pat Riley's one of the best, like you mentioned, Peyton. He knows what he's doing. It is interesting. And Spoelstra, like they've been in the play in the last few years, but that roster is the most mid-roster. It's been the most, like, what are you going to do? There's no way you elevate that. And it will be interesting to see how Bam and Giannis play together. I'm excited to see that tandem. It is interesting. What are they going to do guard-wise? We kind of talked about this last night a little bit. Like, I like Davion Mitchell, and he had a career season last year, but he's a great facilitator and everything. But to me, on a championship team, he's a really, really strong backup point guard. And he was a backup for a while with Miami, and then they had him be the starting point guard for a while. And so their depth, they lost a lot of good pieces, a lot of depth pieces in this trade. At first, I was like, Milwaukee, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not that high on Tyler Hero, honestly. He gets hurt kind of frequently. And, in the biggest moments, I don't know. But going back to Milwaukee now, Milwaukee could flip him now also. They might trade him, which would be unfortunate maybe for Hero if he wants to stay. And I think he's from like Kenosha or somewhere around Milwaukee. So it is a homecoming for him. But if he goes to a contender, I'm sure he won't be upset. But they might flip him now and try to get even more draft assets. The Bucks are going to enter a full rebuild. They've done this it's been at least a year too late. They could have got even more for Giannis last season. Everybody was like, you got to trade him, and they didn't. And they kind of set a hard deadline on Giannis this year, and teams kind of bit, and they had to, some teams that were mediocre. I think Milwaukee, they have some assets now, and they got some draft capital. I think they're going to enter a rebuild, but it could be a quicker one. Ryan Rollins is somebody who's intriguing as a point guard. A Toledo guy. I love the Toledo Rockets. And they have a couple. Kevin Porter Jr., he's all over the place, but he can be a high-octane player. But they need a rebuild. And for Miami, I still think the Knicks are better still, I think Boston at full strength is still better. I think if Cleveland figures out what they're doing here with this second apron, if they can somehow move, I would love the Cavs to move off of Mobley and try to get somebody else. Like, you don't need Mobley and Allen. It's just not working like that. Mobley gets pushed around all the time. But I would love to see them try to get another kind of
James.
They would have to be a very significant discount. That'll be another thing to follow. I do
How does
think
this
he will
affect
return to the
LeBron's
Lakers.
legacy? That is always the most important question.
Well,
That's always the comment. This could have been a hockey conversation, and someone would comment,
Giannis
how does this
chasing
affect LeBron's
LeBron,
legacy?
going down to Miami like LeBron did. Similar trajectory. A guy who, in Cleveland, in Milwaukee, staying there, the loyalty, and then they move all of a sudden to Miami. Everybody loves Miami, but anyway, I'm just BSing there. But I I think Boston. This will be interesting with Boston now, and the Celtics. It's been reported they're taking more calls on Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's been on Twitch a lot recently, saying a lot of things about his unhappiness with being in these trade talks.
I
And
don't blame him. Like
yeah, no,
he's done so
absolutely.
much.
No, absolutely. And he was
He wasn't
one
the
of
one who was on the bench in Game 7
right.
with an
I would
injury.
I would choose Brown over Tatum if it was me, honestly. But Brown, because of that, Brown has more value, and Tatum obviously is coming off the injuries. Close your eyes. What do you see with Jason Tatum? You,
Nothing.
you don't see nothing. You don't see anything.
Copying Kobe's quotes.
But Jaylen Brown last year was tremendous. Over 28 points a game, 6 assists, 7 rebounds, and he was an MVP candidate. It'll be interesting
No
to
one
see
thought
if
the
he gets
Celtics
dealt.
would be good last year at all.
No,
Yeah,
he
everyone
carried
thought,
them.
hey, maybe they'd be better off having a bad season, and then you have Tatum next year, and maybe a high draft pick that you can use on a good player. No one expected this.
I just do hate how the NBA is with this. It's not only the salary cap, but with these aprons. It limits like flexibility for these GMs. It's the NBA is the hardest to be a GM in because there's these aprons. Like the NFL, they have a trade, but you can maneuver within the salary cap. The NBA, it's like a hard cap. And it's just so hard for team. If you're above it, like you're basically done after this run for 5 or 6 years, and you have to tank. The whole NBA system's a joke, and we could get into that or not another day. But it'll be interesting to see where everything goes with LeBron James as well. I do ultimately think he will return to the Lakers. But if he went to the Warriors, like that would be fun with Steph and LeBron and
Yeah.
Draymond. But
I think they should have the
But
last dance.
they would be-
It should be his last year this year, and just all in with the Warriors. That would be so cool.
they would be the most mid team again. I would hate that for. I think LeBron sees that too. Like the Warriors have such a flawed roster. That would be all the youngs: LeBron and Steph and Jimmy Butler and Draymond.
Oh, I forgot Jimmy Butler. So wow, that would be.
Yeah, but he's coming off.
Yeah,
I don't know how
right.
much time he's gonna miss, but it's the
Yeah.
oldest. Every year it's the oldest roster since like 2021. But anyway, a big trade with Giannis. Again, I think Miami got better, but I think their depth obviously got a lot worse. Milwaukee, they'll be 12th or 13th in the East this year. They'll be an afterthought, but I do like these teams. Like, hey, we got to move off these. The NFL, they're so good at like moving off of players, like the best GMs, like moving off at the right time and continuing a run. The NBA, like it's a little more difficult, but good to see
What about
Milwaukee
the
finally get it done.
Wizards? I want to ask you guys about this. The Wizards
Trae Young.
giving Trae Young the bag.
$212 million.
And you have
They were going
fingernail
to-
Anthony Davis with Trae Young
Yeah,
next
since
year.
they trade, like the Wizards weren't going to trade for Trae Young at the trade deadline and not bring him back. So like, I didn't realize he was going to make as much, but like
Good
I knew the
trade.
Wizards were going to bring him back. It just makes sense.
The
Is that a
Wizards.
team next year, the Wizards?
I mean,
They'll
What if
they'll
Anthony
compete.
Davis
Fun
stays
team.
healthy?
in the East, honestly, it could be, but there's such a like the Wizards are like the Kings, where it's just like even if you have a nice roster on paper, like the franchise just drags you down. Like I just don't know with them. Like they're such a poorly run franchise. I miss the days of John Wall and Bradley Beal and an old Paul Pierce and Gortat and everybody on that.
Choo,
Yeah, my
choo.
train's going by. I don't know if you guys can hear that. The train
Yeah, I
going by.
heard it
my
loud.
house.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, we love
And
that
there we
train.
go.
Yeah, I think it's done for the most part. But what else we got? Oh yeah, let's skip MLB.
I'm
talk
hungry.
again.
I want to go.
Yeah,
I want to be done.
we want to do Jake Bell's.
Oh right, yeah, okay,
prospects
and,
thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's
should only
close
take
out-
a few minutes.
Yeah, let's close out with that. This will be exciting, and we'll get to the MLB. We keep pushing it off, but there's a month and a half before the deadline, and the Dodgers are tremendous. What a shock! In Milwaukee, I mean, what else are we gonna say right now? So
We could talk. I mean, what I want to talk about is how bad the American League is. It's
Bro,
incredible.
I wanted to talk about
Actually.
that last week, and you were like, "There's nothing to talk about with the American League because
No,
everybody's
wait,
mediocre."
no. You're getting. That was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. That was not last week.
Okay, well, one of the yeah, I am, but still, like, what, like, you're being inconsistent.
But I didn't think it would be this bad to this point. Is my point.
Okay.
You know, like okay,
Yeah.
just let's go.
Yeah. You want to talk about the Angels for 5 minutes?
No.
You want to talk about? Let's talk about the White Sox for a couple minutes. How about that?
Let's not. Let's get to
They had
Jake
a big
Bell's
win last
whatever
night.
we're doing.
Oh yeah, let's get to that. Let's get to that. In all seriousness.
All right, so assuming that, I'd say there's a high chance because everyone's job on the line that the Pirates are going to at least try to buy to a degree.
Is anybody's
So,
job on the line though? Really? I don't know if
well,
I believe that.
Your
Yeah,
job's
well,
on the line.
I don't
Oh,
know.
boy.
Like,
I don't have a
theoretically,
job.
though, like,
Well,
I'm just saying
so
stuff.
assuming the Pirates are going to buy at the deadline, I listed 10 Pirates hitting prospects because other than Seth Hernandez, the pitching prospects haven't really done anything to a considerable degree. So I have 10 Pirates hitting prospects that have yet to make their MLB debut. Would you trade them at that trade deadline, or would you hold them off, whether it's because you think they're too good to give up, or you think maybe their value is not to the point where you would give them up for something less than what you feel they could potentially bring into a future return? So I'll list 10 guys, and you guys will, and we'll all, make our individual decision. First, I have the only top 100 prospect not named Seth Hernandez in the Pirates system, and that's Edward Florentino. He's battled through injuries,
Mm.
but he's phenomenal. Although he's been struggling a bit this year because of injuries, but
I would probably not trade him. But I don't know enough about him. That's probably what I'm going to say a lot. I don't know enough about a lot of these guys, but he's one of probably your most upward trending players in the minor leagues. Again, it depends on who you're getting, right? It depends, but I would say in most circumstances, no.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think there would be a scenario where the Pirates would be in on a player at this deadline of the caliber to warrant him. I just want to say, guys, real quick, Cole Young just hit a 2-run homer for Seattle
wow.
to take a 3-2
Oh, of course he
lead.
did. Yeah,
So I
if
just
you're
wanted
from
to mention
Pittsburgh, I don't know if you've
Yeah.
noticed this, but if you're from Pittsburgh and
North
you
Allegheny.
play against the Pirates, then you're gonna cook them.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
same with Ian
It's funny
Happ,
because
JJ
Weatherholt and Cole Young, I played against in high school, and both of them just cooked the Pirates.
Right.
So,
But what inning is it?
It is the 7th inning. The Pirates,
Let me guess. The bullpen gave it up, right?
No, it was Mitch Keller. He's in still. He's
Is
had a
he
good
still
outing.
in?
Yeah, but
Oh.
he's had 6 warning track flyouts. He
Well,
gave
there
up
you
a
go.
homer to Cal Raleigh, and there were like 6 that could have been a homer. So he was flirting with that all game. But yeah, 3-2. Pirates have missed a bunch of chances against George Kirby. But go ahead, Jake Bell.
I'm shocked.
yeah, honestly, I agree with
Yeah.
both you guys for 2 reasons. One, because Florentino is, like, obviously he's been hurt, but he's not having the caliber of season you'd expect. So obviously I would hold off, assuming that
Right.
he's going to have a better year next year or finish the year strong after the deadline. And like the only reason why I would trade Florentino is if, you
You're saying he
think that you
struggled
can,
this year, Florentino.
to a degree. He's still good. But it's not the same year he's having last year. And again, it's because he's been hurt, battling injuries. But I still think that the ceiling's there. And unless he's in the conversation for like a Yordan Alvarez, if somehow the Pirates are interested in him, I wouldn't give up on Florentino for some, relief pitcher. I just wouldn't do it right now. All right, so the next person, and this is an interesting one. He's having easily the best minor league hitting season for the Pirates right now, and that's Murph Gray.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit as we saw like Murph Gray continue hitting homers. Again, like he's a lower rated prospect obviously than Florentino and everything. But he's had a great offensive season. I just again like with a lot of these higher upside guys, obviously Murph Gray like is a lower rated top 30 prospect. Like I would have a hard time seeing the Pirates being in on a guy that would warrant that kind of return. But I think if it's like a top of the market reliever for for Murph Gray and whatever, I think you have to consider it. I think you'd have to consider it certainly, and I could be convinced that you could make the move.
I think I'd be okay with it. Obviously, third base is a big weakness on the MLB roster. So you could argue he's the next guy to come up to be your third baseman potentially, but it's not somebody I would be too worried about giving up. I'm just, to me, my priority is this season if I'm Ben Sherrington. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you're seriously in on the role as Chapman or something, like, to a degree, I would, because I was a big fan of Murph Gray out of the draft. Everyone thought he was a reach. I didn't. I loved how he just attacked at the plate, was not afraid to, battle up there. Loved it. And he's proving to be what the Pirates thought. And the Pirates are kind of laughing at everyone thinking he was a reach because of how good he's been. But I am nervous that this might be the best we see of Murph Gray. And if he sucks next year or something, or, teams start to figure him out and then you don't get that value, then all of a sudden it's kind of, it's kind of a waste, in a season where you're trying to go all in, quote unquote. So I would trade Murph Gray this year, assuming you're going to give him up for, one of the better names in the trade deadline. I think his value is at his peak right now.
Was he the kid from Fresno State?
Yeah.
Okay.
He only struck out like maybe 20 times all year.
He was picked, was that last year or the year before?
Last year. All right, so number 3, and this is a very interesting one. Termar Johnson.
He can go.
Well, okay. So he can go, certainly, but his value's at its lowest right now.
Right, that's what makes it interesting.
So that's the dilemma. I mean, he's been hitting a little better recently, I've been seeing, but like not by much. I mean, he started off it was such a poor start. I do think the Pirates have almost, I don't know, you can't say definitively yet, but that's a case where I think the Pirates ruined his approach, ruined like kind of because he was like in favor of more power. He's lost all of his kind of hit tool ability, and he's not hitting for power, right? So it's a loss of everything with him, and that's one of the draft misses of Ben Sherrington, technically. But I think the Pirates have a lot to do with that development-wise. I think it's a complete lack of development. I think like if it's for like a big-time player and he's like thrown in there, I think you could do it certainly. But if it's like, if the Pirates get him for trade him for a reliever that you could get a lot, less for technically, if it's just a whatever reliever that's on an expiring contract, I don't think you do it because there is that potential. We've seen it from him, and he's obviously highly rated. He was highly rated. Now he's falling down the top 30 list even. So. It's that I was waiting for you to say that one, Jake Bill, because that is a very interesting one. They're all interesting ones, but his is unique because he was such a high prospect and he's fallen so much, and he's not hitting at all right now.
The upside with him, though, if you're looking at it from another organization's perspective, is the talent, the tools, that he's only 21 years old, right? So there's time for him. And you can think, like you said, if you feel like the Pirates ruined him, then that's something you would want to take on. But I think there potentially could be some maturity issues with him. I don't know. I think, yeah. I mean, with how far he's fallen, I mean, the thing is, if they're the Pirates, if you don't re-sign Brandon Lau, and then you have Nick Gonzalez in the mix next year, and Termar, let's just say he does really well in AAA the rest of the way and has a strong spring training, are you thinking about him being on the roster next season? Or him a shot at some point because he is in AAA now. But again, he just hasn't shown enough. So
Yeah, I agree. I think I hold on him just for, the time being, just because I think that his value will go up next year, even if he's still not very good. I still think, this year has just been exceptionally not what, he has the potential to be. And I would hold off on him for sure. I don't think this is the deadline you have to give up on him, unless, if he was having a good season, maybe, but he'd be on the MLB roster if he was. So, um, but anyway, the next prospect I want to go over, he's having a breakout year, and that's Lonnie White. He was the guy that they drafted in 2021. They lured him away from Penn State to play football there with money, and they signed him.
I think he might be a potentially like this is his highest value type of player right now, and you would shop him.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Is he in AAA yet, Jake Bell?
No, he just got called up to Double A, I think a month
And he was
ago.
drafted in 2021.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
out
I'm
of high
saying.
school.
So
Yeah.
how old is he?
He graduated a year before me, so he's like probably 23.
All right, so he's not old necessarily. He's not like 25, 26.
I mean,
So there's
I
value
would
there.
entertain offers. I would, if the right deal came about, I would probably make the move. It's just, would that deal, will that deal be there for the Pirates at this deadline? Like, I'm saying that for all of them, but I mean, he's hitting well, like you mentioned, Jake Bell. It's kind of a similar thing with Murph Gray. But I do like Murph Gray just a little better, and he's shown that I mean, he's been incredible recently. But I would shop Lonnie White if it was to get a really, really good reliever in this deadline.
I agree. To me, this is the time you trade him because the past 2 seasons he's been bad in the minors. He's been in Greensboro, I think, 2 straight seasons. And then this year was his third, and then they finally called him up because he finally was starting to do well. I think if you trade him at a deadline, this would be the one to do so, assuming you get, good value. Next up, we have someone who I think could be a top 100 prospect going into next year, the way he's been playing, is Wyatt Stanford.
I don't
Peyton,
know
you
much
wanna
about
go?
him. I gotta be honest with you. I just pull up the top 30. Drafted in 2024, Greensboro. I have to watch guys to really. It's hard for me to just read a spreadsheet, and know. He's number
Something happened in the Pirate
6.
game, Nate.
A lot of BS right now.
In the
Let's just
Pirates'
say
favor?
Mason Montgomery's in, and it's a mess.
What a surprise.
But anyway,
Um,
go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. Why can I not see his stats on here?
Yeah, I'll talk
Just go,
about it
Nate.
while Payne's talking about it. I don't know with him. I really don't know. I could be convinced either way. Again, I think with him, like he's kind of similar to a Florentino almost, where it's just like I would have to be kind of blown away by an offer at this deadline. I wouldn't see him at this deadline being moved because, like you talk about, I don't know too much about him either, but he has been playing well, and if that is true, he's getting towards the top 100 prospect rankings. That's somebody.
I don't know if he is, but I'd imagine he'd be in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, here's something alarming for me though, and I'm not as I'm okay with strikeouts. I'm not as anti-strikeout like Jake Bell is, but 70 strikeouts in 48
Yeah, it's bad.
games is bad.
wow.
It is a lot. That's his major flaw.
And he's a shortstop. He's like 5'11". He doesn't look like a big guy, but he's hitting for power. He's hitting 287 in spite of that. 10 homers, 28 RBI, in 48 games. So that's a tough. I don't know what to make of that. Again, I'd have to see the swing and kind of watch, but that's a that's an I don't know for me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and aside from this, like, it's funny because like going up, like people weren't sure about like whenever they drafted him how his power was gonna play, and it's a lot better than what it's supposed to be right now. Strikeouts I didn't expect. Like whenever I looked that up too, I was like, wow, that's one of the alarming things. But I do see a lot of upside from Wyatt Sanford, and I think that assuming Yordan Alvarez is just not going to be a Pirate, obviously, like that's just not someone you trade, especially with what the Pirates need. I just don't think you trade Wyatt Sanford for now. I think that maybe going into the offseason, if he breaks into the top 100 rankings, maybe you flip him for someone really good that is on the trade block or something. I think that's a possibility, but I just don't think right now. So I'm not going to go through all 10 of these guys. I will go over maybe two more because there's some like it's just whatever. But the next one's an interesting one because he hasn't really put it all together yet, but he pretty much has like the O'Neal Cruz types tools, but he's a little bit more in his 6'7" frame. I think how tall he is, and that's Tony Blanco Jr.
Yes, I have seen a little bit about Tony Blanco. Um, Again, this is kind of a lot of these are kind of similar. Where it's just like I don't know, like assuming like obviously if Yordan Alvarez becomes available, and the Pirates will want to go all in, which we would have no indication that they would. If he was available somehow, anybody would be on the table. But again, like Tony, I think a lot of these guys, other than like a Termar Johnson and a Florentino for different reasons, I think I would be willing to part with. So I would be willing to
Yes.
part with him probably. I don't know too much about
He's a
Tony
career
Blanco either.
230 hitter. I'm not
Yeah.
impressed.
But it's like one of those like, can you develop him? Like the tools are there. Like, can he become something? I mean, I agree. I would for the right price. Um, but again, a lot of it's up in the air. It's just a matter of preference of who you like more, which is what it is with prospects in general. Who you think. It's a guessing game as to who you think is going to be good at the major league level.
Yeah, and it's funny, like if they move on from Blanco, like I could see it be like I'm not gonna say this is gonna happen, but it would be similar, like how I mentioned O'Neal Cruz, like whenever the Dodgers gave up O'Neal Cruz and some other guys for Tony Watson. I could see that where the Pirates need a reliever, they throw in Blanco, who's unproven yet, and then he just has a breakout minor league season. And all of a sudden, because of the skill set he has, his built, how hard he hits the baseball, stuff like that. If he's able to find some consistency, like he's going to be amongst the better prospects in baseball. So I think that's an interesting person to, I guess, like put on your radar if he gets traded. But I wouldn't be upset. I would give him one more year, maybe, but who knows what's going to happen next year, like with baseball in general. So I wouldn't be upset, if they trade him and stuff.
That's why
I'll go with
I think all
yeah,
teams that are in contention should be aggressive this year because of that fact.
right. And I'll go with one more guy that I think is interesting, and I mentioned him for like 1 second today, but Easton Carmichael.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
I would lean towards keeping him, especially with the catching uncertainty going forward, with the Henry Davis. Even with an Andy Rodriguez, will he sustain this? I think he will. I think we all kind of think he will be a good hitter as a catcher, and the defense is there. But Rafael Flores, what do we have with him, right? I think Easton Carmichael has more upside and has shown more, especially in the minors this season. Flores has not hit well, where he could step into that role of being kind of the next kind of backup catcher in waiting for this team, and he has a better hitting profile than a lot of catchers coming up, through minor league systems. So I would lean towards keeping him, again, unless like a big deal or a big player on the Pirates' radar emerges. And again, a lot of this is to like how aggressive would the Pirates be in these scenarios as well. So I would lean towards keeping him.
I mean, he's been having a good year. Again, when's his value? Is his value going to be the highest now? That's something you have to. I remember when we drafted him, I was like, eh, or maybe I was.
Same
I
here.
don't know. So it's hard to have an opinion.
I would lead towards keeping him, like how you mentioned, Nate, with the catching situation. I do think that regardless, like I think he could still be a productive hitter. Like I don't know how good he is as a pure catcher defensively. Maybe he has to switch positions. I don't know. I don't know what's there, but I know his bat can play at least so far. So I'd still be willing to see what he has. I don't think we trade him right now. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna mention. Some other guys like I had written down, like Johnny Severino, Jack Brannigan. I don't think that's really something we need
Oh,
to talk about too in
those
depth.
guys
So.
would be guys that you would be comfortable trading, I think.
Right. So I don't think that's, something I want to say the
Those are
guys that
more
you at
like
least have a
concrete.
conversation with and right. So I think those are the main guys that you're gonna have a conversation with for sure.
All right, everybody. I think that about does it for this one. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. That was a good segment. Jake Bell will be interesting to see who the Pirates do part with, assuming they have a semi-aggressive buying, assuming the Pirates are in a position to do so this season. But that'll do it for episode 76 of We Are Family. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel. If you enjoy our content, follow us on our social medias. We'll have a bunch of content from these longer videos on there as well. And thank you very much.